We're back with another episode of Demon Souls in Design. And now I guess it's time to go further into World 4. But wait, we have souls. Might as well use them. And at this point, our build is pretty much finished for this run. We don't really need a lot of else, so I guess we'll just get Vitality, Endurance. Got a lot of souls because we beat the final boss of World 5, Main and Straight. The final levels always give you the most souls, which again kind of goes back to what we were talking about before about how layered rewards. In this case, it's, you know, they want to make sure you really feel good about, you know, finishing off one of the worlds, because that is your main objective, is to beat those final bosses. So that's pretty consistent. And again, it's just it also kind of translates the idea that after you complete a world, it'll make the next one easier, at least for the first few levels, because your character will be much higher level. So it also kind of plays in that aspect that how you decide to go through the game, which progression you decide to pick, will drastically change your playthrough compared to maybe how someone else does it. So it also helps kind of giving the game more variety and longevity, replay value. And, you know, it also can make it interesting for community building. Like, different players can talk about how they went through the game differently than others. You know, it gives you something to talk about. And the Souls game's always been good about that. Sort of the messages come into play, which, you know, we haven't really talked a lot about the multiplayer mechanics, but that's another thing that kind of plays into this. And here we're going into World 4-2. And this is one of the probably more difficult levels in the game, especially when you're not used to it. And it's definitely a level that really highlights the concept of the puzzle mechanics of level design, where the level can get drastically easier or harder depending on the equipment you have. So for one, there's mana rays in many parts of the level that will shoot you, but having a Thief Ring on makes them much less likely to do so. That already is a huge component of this. And also Soul Remains, and they even give you some for free right here. And if you rescued Grave Robber Blige...
Hello there. We meet again. You look terrible. Cheer up. Life is an adventure.
You have an opportunity to buy some more, which we're going to do. And I will also buy some sticky white stuff, because that's really good. I can only buy one, but that's fine. I don't think we need anything else.
There's somebody I ought to warn you about, a fellow who lacks common decency. They call him Patches the Hyena, and he's the one that laid that trap for me. He's the kind of person who'd stab his mother in the back. If you happen to spot him, you'll be doing us all a favour by putting him out of his misery. All done. Good day. Be sure not to get yourself killed.
So now we're warned about Patches. Oh, another cutscene here. So that's an important cutscene because it shows that the ghosts are summoned by the Reaper. So if you were to kill a ghost, for example, let's try to kill this one. And they're not too hard to kill. And you can block them. They're not like Dark Souls 1 ghosts. They're essentially normal like enemies. But you'll see that, yep, you hear that sound effect. He's going to respawn another one. So it's pretty... Thanks to that cutscene, it makes it pretty obvious what's going on. If as long as the Reaper's alive, the ghost will be alive. Oh, and about what Blige is saying, so we're actually warned about Patches' trap in here, and the game actually does, at least through Blige, encourage you to kill Patches, even though that's not really the best thing to do. The best thing to do is always to keep Patches alive, because you are rewarded for showing that compassion. So now we'll use the Soul Remains that the game keeps throwing at us. Seems like they want us to. And that makes this area much easier, because the ghosts will walk right by us. And when the Reaper dies, all the ghosts die. So this is a potentially really dangerous part of the game because there's a bunch of enemies, and this Reaper is actually very dangerous, but Soul Remains and just free hits in the back and everything is taken care of. So again, there was no skill in what I did right there at all. That was just puzzle mechanics. And so this item right here, it is good to get some Full Moon Grass, but it's also to help players see this switch. Because if you come from here, you know, there's two ways you can get to this item. You come from here, you'll pick it up, and you'll most likely turn your camera like that and see it as you want to get back to the staircase. And if you come around this way, you'll definitely see it. So this item is intended to help you find this. Again, a good use of item design in the level. Alright, so now that we've done that, let's try to find this Patches character that Blythe just told us about.
Oh, hello again. Hey, don't turn a cold shoulder. I didn't mean to do you wrong. Really. Come on now. We've got better things to fret about. That pit there is filled with treasure. But, I can't get to it myself. Go on, have a look. It's more riches than I've ever dreamed of.
Yeah, so it's classic Patches. There's treasure. Trust me, it'll be fine.
Don't hold it against me, eh? Take your time, starving to death. Then I'll sell every last trinket off your corpse.
And once again, we fall for Patches' trap. We're locked in a room with a red phantom and some new character.
Heavens! Did you fall for that little devil's trap? Well, I did the same. He fooled me, and now I am stuck here. The reverberations seem to suggest that we are connected to the outside. But dark, fearsome souls stand between us and freedom. But have no fear. God will cleanse us of evil. Pray with me. Umbasa.
So he's going to sit here and pray, and we'll have to take care of the problem. Maybe a little more social commentary. I don't know if that one was intentional. Remember how we talked before about how in this game it's hinted that Patches has a problem with clerics. Or in Dark Souls 1, that's like one of his main character traits. This is another connection here because Saint Urbain is the leader of the clerics, and he's someone that Patches has victimized. Well, this is Black Phantom he wields the Hiltless, I believe. So this is most players have determined that this is Satsuki's master, but we're not really sure about that. But he is here with a weapon. The Makoto is the weapon Sasuke wants, and it's on top of that pillar. We'll talk about that after we kill him. With a shield, he can't really do much with those katanas. And yes, he is wielding the Hiltless, because you can see his HP draining every time he swings. That's an effect of that weapon. So yeah, he'll actually just kill himself eventually if we do this. So yeah, you could definitely say that NPC invaders, like enemies, have gotten much more dangerous in the recent games. Shoutouts to Forlorn and Fencer Sharon. Oh boy. Yep. Yep. He's gonna... Just gonna... Uh-huh. Uh-oh. Jesus. It's like he knows. And there you go. So, with an outnumbered steel shield, you can defeat this powerful enemy. And we get some items we don't really need. But yes, this item up here is the Makoto. It's what Satsuki wants. A special unique katana. Now, you need a pure white world tendency to get it. And there's really no way for a player to know that by coming down here. But because the item is completely inaccessible, this is somewhat of a hint that you have to do something special to find it. But I do criticize world tendency because there's not really a lot of ways for players to discover how to do this. But the one thing I would say is, it does kind of encourage the online mechanics of reading messages and going online and talking about the game, which is what they were going for, because I imagine when, and I do remember when the game's still out online, there'd be messages here usually referring to tendency. So in that case, maybe it's actually a good concept. I guess you could say, in traditional game design terms, it's a really bad idea to do something like that. But maybe with the type of innovative mechanics that are going for with Demon Souls, maybe it's actually a really interesting, innovative idea. There's always a fine line between innovation and just making a mistake, right? And that one's I'm kind of not 100% sure where I stand on it, to be honest.
You. Hey, look, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean what I said. Well, I mean, a man's got to make a living, right? Here, look. I can make up for it. There aren't many humans like us. We need to stick together. I know. Here, take this as a token of my friendship. You've seen one of these before, surely.
And Patches, like always, begs for forgiveness and gives us a mostly useless item. And even has the nerve.
Come on, let's be friends. What do you say? No need to drag each other down.
And even has the nerve to laugh at us about it. Doesn't even hide his contempt. But you're still rewarded for doing that, for showing forgiveness, because Patches is one of the better merchants in almost all the games, so it's always beneficial to keep him alive. So again, now I guess it's time to continue with the level, and we'll get to the difficult parts now. So, let's actually use that Half Moon Grass to save on our better grass. So, this is one of the parts in the game where it's very strict in its design. So we're out in the open where manta rays can shoot at us, extremely narrow path with a ledge to our death, and a multiple group of skeletons on said narrow path, with an archer no less. So, what do? Well, we have soul remains, and the game has been giving us a lot in this world, so let's try using them. Well, I got the attention of him. Let's throw another one. Oh, interesting. They're not paying attention to that. That's really strange, actually. I'm actually not sure why that isn't working. Let's try this. Wow. Huh. I'm wasting these now. This is actually really strange. Maybe they have this... Wow, I don't know what that's about. Huh. That's really strange. Well, the steel shield still helps. You can actually use that to not... Well, it is a Souls game after all. So I'm actually kind of glad I died because I want to try the soul remains again. I'm actually not sure why they weren't working. So let's go back to our cling ring. Use crescent grass to get back to full health. And we'll try that again. And the cool thing about this level, which I kind of like, is it doesn't have any traditional shortcuts really, but it's a short level. But for one, hitting that switch behind the scythe does make it much easier to get back to where we just were. So it's a little time saver, even if it's not really a traditional shortcut. And again, it's a difficult level, but a short level. So it's kind of similar to 1-2, where it's a short, quick level with no shortcut. Not really like 5-1, which is a rather lengthy level with no shortcut. 5-1's really the only exception in that regard. So let's try these soul remains again. Okay, so it aggro's the archer, but not them. That is so strange. Huh, I don't know why it's doing that. Well, you can always do this. Classic strategy. Getting one's attention. And being safer with the terrain. Staying towards the wall. And once you've killed him, this part's pretty easy, because now we don't have to worry about falling off. And we don't have to worry about aggroing multiple skeletons that are going to get on top of us. You can just kind of use your shield. And there you go. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious why the soul remains don't work there. That's actually very strange. Because they should. Well, I guess you could say that's a design flaw, and that we are here to see flaws and praise. Well, two very powerful enemies in a very tight corridor. Try these soul remains. And that's what should happen, right? So now, we're going to get to another part of the level that's pretty strict about what you have to do. Again, kind of puzzly in nature. So you come in here, narrow ledges. You hear ghosts being summoned the moment you come in. And there's ghosts blocking the path. And they immediately shoot an attack that you pretty much can't dodge on a narrow passageway. It does magic and cuts through your shield. And these guys are much more tanky than they normally would be. So this is very difficult. But, now, with the amount of health we have, it's not so bad. But here's what you could do to make this easier. We got this dark silver shield from fighting Garl Vinland in World 5. This shield, oh, well, I don't know what that was about. The shield is 100% magic block, meaning we can block these laser beams with no threat whatsoever. This is another example of level progression, being savvy with equipment, mastering the mechanics. Again, I keep stressing it, but it's very puzzle kind of designed. It's more about figuring out solutions and applying them, not really about all that skill-based. I know we keep harping on that, but that's really kind of the primary thing about Demon Souls that makes it different than the other Souls games, especially the newer games. Like, again, there wasn't anything skillful about what I did at all there. You know, we can hear those laughs of the other ghosts that try to backstab you. So there is a warning there. If we go over here, I think we'll see them. Oh, there she is. It can be very hard to see them. Oh. They don't do a lot of damage unless they get a backstab, so because we saw them coming, we're safe. They're actually very dangerous enemies because most new players are not going to see them coming up on them. And we can get these items. And these are mostly useless items. These items are actually a trap. Those items are not intended to help you. They are intended to distract you and get you killed by those ghosts. So this section is nothing much here. Just a path to run to the next area. Now we're going to get to another area that's, again, pretty strict on what we need to do. So if we go in here, ghost in the way. This one has a lot less HP than the laser beam ones. So now, going in here, you can see a ghost along the linear path, so you should know by now he's probably going to shoot a laser beam at you. So you can either use a soul remains to distract him, or use this dark silver shield to make it very easy. And he's not doing it. He normally shoots a laser beam. That's actually makes this much easier. That's interesting. Because his melee attacks are really slow. Those aren't really anything to worry about. Huh. That's actually something very interesting. That makes this much easier. Because you can just do this. Oh, that other ghost got someone behind us. Yeah, in melee, they're not really anything to worry about. One behind us. But there's the Reaper. Oh, and yeah, they do a lot of damage. Whoops, and I lived. But Dark Silver Shield, 100% magic block. So we can just block and backpedal. So yeah, Dark Silver Shield, really helpful. Again, it's if you think about Demon Souls like a puzzle instead of an action game, it makes a lot more sense. And I think that's why some people find this game really easy, and some people find it really hard. That's kind of the interesting thing about Demon Souls. There's a big discrepancy over how people perceive it. Some people think it's very, very easy. Some people think it's very, very hard. I think it's because some people might treat it like the other Souls games and think it's more, you know, primarily action-based, and just kind of run headfirst into certain problems, and that makes the game much more difficult than it normally is. And that's not, you know, the players aren't to blame for that, and this is a trap. It's actually pretty easy to avoid. Oh, I walked right back into it. Because a lot of players probably came from Dark Souls first and the other games, so they were accustomed to more of that balance, where player skill was more prioritized. Where in this game, it's more about knowledge and understanding of the mechanics. Now here's Old Hero. Oh, he's gonna come out any second now. So in that cutscene, if you're paying attention, you can see he's actually blindfolded, and then he immediately starts swinging at air. So the game makes it pretty clear that he can't see, and like many things in this level and the game in general, the thief ring is very handy. So this is actually one of the bosses I criticize the most in this game. There's a few reasons why. The main reason being that it's just so reductive, and the gimmick of the blind boss isn't really used very well. It just basically makes him easier. There's really nothing interesting about the mechanic, and it doesn't really add any challenge. It actually reduces challenge. Let's just use regular turpentine to speed this up. So you simply get behind him, where he can't see you or hit you. Hit him, he'll enrage, and after he enrages, simply leave. And that's pretty much the whole boss. Now, if you don't have the thief ring on, you have to retreat earlier and further away, but it still doesn't really change too much. It's still a pretty easy fight. Now, I would say the premise of a boss that can't see you but uses sound and aggro and enrages to find you, I think that's a really interesting premise. But they just couldn't really execute it in this game. I would say maybe FromSoftware in a modern game with everything they've learned in the Souls, if they try this idea again, I think they could make something really, really special, something really good. Like, I could envision a boss arena where maybe the floor makes noise, or maybe there's floor traps that make noise to give your position away. Maybe he'd have some ranged attack that isn't intended to hurt you, but just to find out where you are. Maybe it has a big range and he throws it out when he doesn't know where to look for you. There's a lot of interesting things you could do with this idea. But in Demon Souls, I don't think they were quite there yet in terms of maybe programming and design to make this a really fleshed out idea. Let's actually take off the thief ring to see how much it changes things. So the thief ring is off. Okay, so we'll hit him again. Run away. Yep. Okay. Okay. So yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit more dangerous. But yeah, he eventually goes back. And if I had more room to maneuver, I could have just kept running away. So even without the thief ring, you basically just tend to be more patient. It doesn't really make it that much harder. It makes it harder, but it's still not particularly interesting or fun. It's still a pretty basic fight where you just hit him a lot and run away, and then repeat. Like, there's no real mechanic here, there's no real gimmick. Yeah, I would say it's one of the weaker bosses in the game. It also doesn't help that he's pretty tanky. Like, we're using a +8 longsword with turpentine on it. It still took quite a bit of hits to kill him. So it's just the fight is just kind of a drag. It's just kind of a slow, very basic, boring fight. Like, Adjudicator's also very basic and boring, but at least he dies quickly. This fight really drags on sometimes. So yeah, I'd say that was a puzzle-based boss, but the puzzle itself is really just weak. So now we'll go into Storm King's area. Okay. Okay, so for one, the design of this boss, visually speaking, is just great. It's like a Lovecraftian kind of design, the giant eyeball, tentacles, and it's just bizarre, like a flying giant manta ray that has a bunch of baby manta rays. And it's a cool kind of thematic storytelling concept where you finally see where all these weird flying manta ray things come from. So, like everything in World 4, the Thief Ring helps a lot. And also, if you do have a range attack, you could start killing all these right now. Oh, and there's geckos here. We don't really need them, but why not? But we're going to approach this as for a player who hasn't really diversified. We just have a longsword. We don't have any fancy magic or range attacks. So if you travel around here, you explore, you eventually find this cool-looking sword in the ground. And it's the Storm Ruler. So yeah, if you're familiar with Dark Souls 3, you probably know what this is about. And yes, it originated in Demon Souls. So, again, this is a very puzzle-like design of a boss. The common sense thing would be to think would be, oh, there's a building here. Maybe that can help me out. So you go in here, and once you're in this room, the boss pretty much can't hit you. The enemies pretty much can't hit you. And you've pretty much already won. I know that might sound reductive, but it's pretty much the case. And yes, just like Dark Souls 3, you have what, I guess what people would consider a weapon art. This is the regular attack. It only does this effect in this level, though. There's no, there's no FP bar. It doesn't cost MP. It's just the regular attack in this level. And once you've killed enough of these guys, eventually the boss will come out. And yeah, they don't even do that much damage. So yeah, not exactly a big problem, right? And let's see, they gotta get close enough. So yeah, in this building you're pretty safe. Even if you just kind of stand there and take hits. Because the ones from a distance can't hit you. Oh, can we get him? Yep. And another one. So yeah, you pretty much just kind of snipe them from a safe spot. And there's really nothing much to worry about. And there's another one. And eventually the boss will come out. And here he comes. Yep. And this is really no different than killing the baby ones. He can't hit you from outside the building. Like, he's actually less dangerous than the regular enemies. And yeah, this is pretty much the whole fight. So yeah, this is, I would say, almost as bad as Old Hero, except at least it's visually interesting. But yeah, this is another example where the puzzle-based design is pushed way too much. Way too much. Like, this is just a little too much. Like, there's just nothing really to this. Like, I guess on a first-time experience, I guess unlike Old Hero, at least on a first-time experience, this could feel really wonderful and magical. This giant beast, and you might not know what to do. You might be running around out there getting shot at. So for a first-time player experience, I'll give it that. It could have a cool experience. But it really falls flat when it comes to replayability, when it comes to any sort of depth. There's just not a whole lot going on here. It's just a very basic fight. Just a very simple, kind of really lacking in any kind of depth. Yeah. And now we have to wait for him to come in. It's also really tedious and really slow, as you can see. Again, not a whole lot going on. And he's gonna make another pass. Yeah, and he only has one attack. It's what he's doing right now. He launches the volley, and they always go in the same spots, just in different directions. And we're gonna hit him. And one more pass ought to do it. Alright, so when he comes back, we'll be done with World 4. And I guess we could go to either 1-3 or 3-2. Here he comes. So yeah, again, I would say the thing about World 4 is, I'd say all three bosses are probably some of the worst in the game, and just not good bosses in general, because again, there's like nothing to them. They're very, very shallow. Whereas I would say at least the levels are good, though. World 4, the level design is great. The boss is not so much. And there's World 4 completed. Good level design, nice challenging levels. Bosses are really not much to talk about, unfortunately. Alright, so that just leaves World 1 and World 3 left. So we'll level up, and then I think we'll do 1-3 to get more upgrade materials. Because 1-3 also has geckos that we can use to upgrade our longsword. Alright, so we'll deposit the Storm Ruler. Okay. Don't need these. And now the music in the Nexus has this dramatic tone, because it's, again, that's really well used to a simple way to build tension for that the end of the game is coming. That's a really good way to psychologically let the player know that, you know, it's time to buckle down for the end of the game, right? Like, the serious stuff is coming. Like, that's a good way to kind of build a little bit of anxiety in the player. You want a little anxiety in the player. You want them to really think about what's happening. But, for players' first time playing the game, that music probably really made it feel really dramatic and foreboding. And we'll get more endurance, vitality, get the 1000 HP, a little bit of damage. And again, we get a lot of souls because we beat the final boss of the world. Talk to him again.
Have you seen my corporeal flesh? Has my body gone rotten?
And he's losing his mind.
I'm sorry. Please leave me alone.
So this theme of him going mad as he's been without his body for so long, and he's not, on his mission of hunting the demons, that's something that gets expanded upon and used in Dark Souls 1, where people without humanity eventually go hollow, and if they don't continue on their mission, their purpose, whatever it is, they lose their minds. So that, again, even that that's like the main plot point of Dark Souls, in a sense, and again, it comes from this game, it comes from Demon Souls. It wasn't really focused on in this game, but the idea did exist, so that's kind of interesting that even Dark Souls' main plot, or at least main plot element, you could say, its kind of central theme, comes from Demon Souls, even if it was kind of a minor thing in this game. So now, into 1-3, this is probably one of the considered more challenging levels in the game. And it's the level that you can't go to until you beat at least another world. So the game also kind of wants you to acknowledge that, and it builds up to this. They even have a cutscene just for entering a level, which is very different than the rest of the game. After Tower Knight's boss room. So we see the fat official that was instructing the archers in the Tower Knight boss fight. This door really builds up tension to this level. So they're really trying to get across that this is like an endgame area. And probably to let players know that if you haven't done a lot of the rest of the game yet, maybe you should consider it. So they're really trying to build up this area. So let's get our grass ready. And we'll have some soul remains just in case. And that ought to do it for now. So we're immediately greeted by all these corpses. Again, really building up this level is not to be trifled with. We see these cages with dogs trapped in them. So yeah, they're really trying to build up to this level is serious. We see some dogs here. Again, shield makes it very easy. So, we fight some dogs, and there's these dogs in these cages. Now, I know what a lot of people are thinking. Well, obviously these dogs are probably going to bust out of these cages. They actually don't. And if you played Bloodborne, you're probably really surprised by that. So yeah, this is, I guess you could say Bloodborne took this idea and made it more interesting. Because yeah, this area has all these dogs trapped in these cages, but they will never break out. Yep, you cannot even hit them. So yeah, Bloodborne kind of took that visual theme and made it more made it a more dynamic gameplay concept. And here's probably the most obvious trap in the world. There's a convenient wall right here. So again, this trap's not really intended to kill you. Or at least I would hope not. I mean, this is a bait, because it's a useless item, but I would hope most players would not fall for that. Alright, so, we get another cutscene. Alright, so they're kind of building up this fat official running away from us. And it should be pretty clear to tell that this is a shortcut door. So they're even warning us about the shortcut door. so that's something we'll get to later. So there's a lot of things being built up in this level. These guys break through this door, and we're immediately greeted by multiple enemies. So again, this level's coming right at us, right from the start. This isn't going to be simple. Oof. But not a problem. So yeah, right from the get. Oh, we got to drop the great axe. So yeah, they're trying to make sure that you know. Now I'm coming over here because there's normally a gecko here. I must have scared him away. But that's okay. That they want you to know this level's gonna be serious. So we come in here. You can get the jump on these enemies. Oh, he did die. But again, these enemies are not too difficult, honestly. They're definitely much easier than their equivalents in the future games. So now we have multiple pathways to go. When we survey the area, we can see where we probably need to go. So we're going to drop. More healing items. And right here, there's going to be a very interesting segment coming up. But first we have to clear out this archer. That shouldn't have fallen for that. And you can see an archer in that little hallway. And if you're paying attention to that, you can tell there's obviously a pathway there. So that's important for what's coming up ahead. So we're going to take out this archer. Okay. So if you go look up these stairs, you can see that pathway in the left there, and you can tell there's a pathway over there. So you can already kind of tell, if you're paying attention, there's a lot of pathways connecting to this staircase. And you can see that fire boulder there. And it comes down when you get close enough. And they just died. So it's kind of interesting that this trap just naturally will kill both of these enemies for you without even really doing anything. I don't know if that was intentional. And did we get the secret dagger? Yes, we did. I don't know if that's intentional, but it does kind of just happen that way. Like, again, I didn't really do anything special there. I just kind of walked up to when the boulder would come out naturally, and then retreated to safety. And if neither of these enemies die, the area gets much more difficult, because these ninjas are some of the more dangerous enemies in the whole game. Now, here's the interesting thing about this, though. This boulder trap only happens once. It does not restart like the enemies do. So if you die and have to come back, that trap won't do that again. So next time you go through the level, these enemies will not die like that. So it's actually, again, I don't think that was intentional. It actually significantly punishes you for a death there. Again, I don't think that was intentional. I think that was a mistake. I think the boulder was not supposed to kill them like that. And this ninja drops down from above. Ooh, we can actually kill them in one counter hit like that. So these ninjas, I did say they were difficult. It probably didn't look like it there. They do have a kick attack, which is really good at breaking guard. I don't know if a non-upgraded steel shield can block it, but you could definitely upgrade it to deal with it. But yeah, they have some of the more powerful attacks. Oh, you can see a red eye and all these archers. So a dangerous situation. See if we can get their attention. So what we want to do is lure him out so we don't get sniped from the back. Again, this is a strategic test kind of here. So the game is getting much more serious here, much more action-oriented. There isn't a very simple solution to this. You kind of have to deal with it, and we're not dealing with it well. And we want to finish him off. There we go. So yeah, a pretty dangerous situation they put you in there. Here, the game is kind of picking up pace. This might be more familiar. This might look more like a Dark Souls area, you know? Like, there's enemies in this building to ambush you. There's a bunch of archers along the way. Probably what people are more familiar with. And another guy trying to ambush us. As archers shoot into the doorway. One thing you'll probably notice, in this game, it's much easier to break the guard of enemies. I'm just doing two-handed attacks, and it's breaking their guard in almost one hit. Or it is mostly doing one hit. You don't even need to use your push attack. Oh, and look who it is again.
Ah, we meet again. Fancy that. Hope you find something that suits you.
So now he will sell the Claymore, the Knight Sword, the Crescent Axe, Knight Shield. So he has some really good items now. We're not going to use them. We're going to stick to the longsword, but he does have some really good items. Turpentine. He's always sold that, I believe. We'll talk to him.
The king, he's gone mad like the rest of them. But perhaps he was mad in the first place. I can never tell with those eccentric royal oafs. It is the end of Great Boletaria as we know it. But hell, at least the demon...
Alright, so he's got that line again. But now he tells us directly that the king has also lost his mind, so... At this point, it should probably be pretty clear that whoever this king is probably the boss of this area. Especially since Astrava talked about that as well. Well, we have a two-hander. You can kind of bait him out. Counter hit. It's pretty simple. They can be overwhelming if you try rolling through all those attacks, but you just be patient, bait him out, and take care of him. Oh, we don't want those on the ready. His body's going crazy because of Demon Soul's ragdoll effects. So now we can finally get to these archers. There we go. Oh, he has hyper armor. And there we go. Iron Ring of Keys. These enemies dropping down. So yeah, a lot. So this is kind of similar to World 5, especially 5.1. Now the game's throwing a lot of enemies at us, a lot of combat. This is a very big departure from the World 4 we just did. So again, a lot of diversity in this game and how the level designs work. I would say more so than the other games. There's not really a lot of areas in the other games where there's just hardly any enemies at all. So it can be a big change of pace where you have a level like this where there's enemies all over the place, after just doing levels where there's very few in general. Nope. Breaking their guard. Full Moongrass. We'll continue. You can hear that fire, but you can't see it. The ninja. See what she does. I want her to show off her range of attacks. She's doing backflips for no real reason. There's the attack, and it missed me completely. That's her guard break attack. Well, she didn't get the hit with it. I guess the staircase made it go right over my head. Unfortunately, the ninjas didn't really get to show off why they're so dangerous. Oh, and you can see the trap clear as day before you even go up there. Simply move out of the way. Nothing really to worry about there. Again, most of these traps are pretty simple. Let me continue. Oh, and we can get the drop on him. Or not. And that's why it's dangerous to not respect this enemy. But he can be stun-locked. Unlike the Fat Officials, much easier to stun-lock him. Some of his attacks do have hyper armor, but you can, once you keep him in a chain, in a stun, you can stun-lock him pretty reliably most of the time. Which is the case for a lot of enemies in this game. At least regular enemies, not bosses. There we go. So now, we're going to be looping back around. Back over here. But now the interesting thing about this part is after I take care of him, you can see the rest of the level from here. You can actually see the boss fog. You can see the path leading up to it. But you also should realize, okay, this leads back. And I remember that gate at the beginning of the level. So at this point, the player should realize I go that way for the boss, this way for the shortcut. It's pretty well designed and to kind of relay that information to the player without saying a word. And they showed that gate prominently at the beginning of the level. And there it is. Fairly easy to deduce. And you even get to jump on this guy.
Help! Help! Soul-Star soldiers are after me. In the name of all that is sacred, please open this gate. Oh Lord, hurry, please. They are almost upon me.
Alright, and Astrava needs help. I wanted to let his dialogue finish while he's getting attacked. And he runs for it. And these are very dangerous enemies. So we gotta be careful. Be nice if you helped us, Estrada. So yeah, they make this quite more dangerous to save Estrada this time. This being the third time we've had to save him. And they make it definitely more difficult this time. They really throw all the stops at you. There we go. It's probably one of the only times in the game where they throw that many powerful enemies at you, that close, all at one time.
You saved my life. This is the third time I am truly indebted to you. This is all I have. But please accept it. Now, I must go. My father, the king, awaits me just over there.
So he gives us a pure clear stone, which is needed to max out quality weapons, and he flat out says, my father, the king, awaits me over there. So now we flat out know that the king, his father, is who is he headed towards, who's probably the final boss of this area. So they're building that up quite a bit now. And they got a lot more enemies being thrown at us, a lot of combat. So again, this is where the game is kind of throwing off the pretense that this is just a puzzle game. You're finally getting some pure action. We're actually getting... Again, this is probably where a lot of newer players of Demon's Souls might feel more at home with how this game is playing out now. There isn't a lot of whole gimmicks in this level. It's combat and combat, and occasionally a trap that isn't really much of a concern. And now, the really interesting thing here is... I would say a lot of players probably recognize this area if you played Dark Souls 3. This is straight out of Dark Souls 3. These wooden things in the way, the segmented staircase with a lot of strong enemies on the path, leading up to a boss. That is the path to the Lothric twins, Lorien and Lothric. And also, it's even thematically similar in that Lorien and Lothric were the sub-boss of the game, the last boss before the final boss, and this is similar in this game. This is the last boss before what's intended to be the final boss of the game. So it's thematically similar, and similar from a thematic kind of design and level design. So it's very similar to Dark Souls 3. As we're getting pelted by arrows. There we go. Uh-oh. So they're really building up this fat official, chasing him. Now he's in the boss room itself. Now that's 3 red-eye spearmen, all guarding this path. But we're going to do the smart thing. And there you go. Just like that, you don't even have to deal with them. Again, that's probably the one part of the level where I would say, probably recommended to not use combat and use a tool to your advantage. There are other ways to do that, and you can fight them. And it's not the hardest thing in the world, but that's probably the smartest thing to do. So now we're going to use turpentine. We'll use regular turpentine for this. Now this cutscene might be familiar to a lot of people. So, if you've played Dark Souls 1 or 3, that cutscene probably looks familiar. Very similar to both Artorias and Gale's cutscene. Kills another enemy, throws them at the camera, in very similar fashion as well. So again, we've been talking about how this level is much more action-oriented, not a lot of gimmicks. This is kind of similar to this boss. This is kind of just a straight-up fight. It's probably more similar to what people are used to from the other games. You know, armored enemy, armored knight, has a pretty flashy moveset, a wide variety of attacks. You want to dodge and attack when the right time arises. It's a very... This is probably... I mean, a lot of people probably consider it quaint by today's standards because his attacks are relatively slow. They're pretty easy to dodge. It doesn't have a whole lot of moves, but it is very traditional kind of fight. And his attacks actually do some magic damage, I believe. That's why it's going through my shield. Not a lot, though. And that's his penetrating attack, hence his name. Does a lot of damage. If you're low level, it will one-shot you. My amount of HP, I don't think it actually would. Actually, you know what? We'll test that. We'll test that. We'll try to get hit by that at full health and see if it kills us. And not even close. So that's kind of the thing about Demon Souls. In terms of the damage enemies do to you, it's actually quite forgiving. Like, that's intended to be kind of a one-shot type of kill attack. And it didn't even do... Like, we still have, like, what, 33% of our health left? So not even close. And we have 29 vitality. We're level 51. Our level's not that high. Our vitality's not anything crazy. And yeah, it wasn't even close to killing us. So yeah, Demon Souls is... I would say the enemies on average do pretty low damage, at least on normal play. Like, if you're in Pure Black World Tendency, it might be different. If you're doing High New Game Plus cycles, it might be different. But I would say, generally speaking, the enemies do very low damage. And he's about to go down. Again, very straight, basic fight. Not a lot to say about it, but it's good. Especially for a game that's, you know, the first of its kind. This is a pretty enjoyable fight. I would definitely say by today's standards, a little dry, a little too easy. But again, I don't have too much to complain about it. And ooh, I like outspacing that attack. Getting that thrust in there. It's a very cool, interesting death animation. I like how he kind of looks up to the sky with a sword. Yeah, there might be some meaning to that we don't know, but I like it. Alright. Go back to the Nexus. Maybe talk to Astrava. So yeah, Penetrator is a good, I would say a pretty good boss. And the 1-3 is a good level. Again, the boss and the level are kind of thematically similar. There wasn't a lot of whole tricks to that level, not a whole lot of gimmicks. Mostly just a lot of combat and action skill, skill-based action. And the boss kind of reflects that. So it's, you know, that's kind of all there is to that, I would say. Oh, I think I just used the Phalanx's Soul. Not a really big deal. You only get like 1,000 for it. Let's use these legendary soldier souls we got. So we have a lot more souls. We still haven't used like any of our boss souls. Let's level up.
Thou seekest soul power.
Yep.
Soul of the mind.
We'll stay at 30 vitality. We'll go to 25 endurance. That should be good. And some strength. There we go.
Art thou done? May thine strength help the world be mended.
Dad, who are you? I don't remember anything.
And yep, he's losing his memory now. Again, if it wasn't already clear that this is what the concept that gets carried into Dark Souls 1, now it's extremely obvious. Yep. And Astrava's not here, actually. Interesting. So I think that will do it for this episode of Demon Souls in Design. See you guys in the next one. How do I... Oh, wait. Yeah!